Hi, I'm Dede Wilson, and I'm going to show you how to make a tender white cake. This is perfect for any kind of layer cake you might be making, and I love it for birthday cakes. It's wonderful with vanilla buttercream, chocolate frosting, mocha frosting. It's great with lemon fillings. It's so versatile. And one of the reasons why it's going to have an exceptional flavor and texture is because we're using a very low protein cake flour. This is King Arthur unbleached cake flour. It has a very low 9.4 protein content, which is going to give it that really tender crumb. Comes in this size box. You can find this in many supermarkets as well as online at kingarthurflour.com. And what I do is when I come home, I transfer it to an airtight container, and that way I know that it will be stored properly. I already have it sifted and measured out with my baking powder and salt. And this is just going to be whisked together a little bit so that all of the leavener and the salt is mixed in with the flour. And then we're going to start by creaming our butter and then adding some sugar. I'm using my 5-quart tilt head KitchenAid mixer. This one has a glass bowl, which is not only great for our purposes because you'll be able to see the creaming process as it's happening, but I just love the retro look. And when it's time to pour the batter into the pans, the pour spout and handle are going to make that even easier. So what we need here is the flat paddle attachment to the mixer, and this one in particular is called the beater blade. This is similar to the classic KitchenAid flat paddle, but one side has this soft rubber edge, and what this is going to do is it's going to scrape the sides of the bowl for you while we're mixing, and so it eliminates a step for you, makes things easier. We're always interested in making your time in the kitchen as enjoyable as possible and also getting the best results as possible, and this is certainly going to do all of the above. Installing the attachment is as easy as that. It's locked into place. I have 2 sticks of room temperature unsalted butter in the bowl. Tilt head comes down. Always make sure to lock the machine, and then we're going to cream the butter. Now before I add the sugar, I'm just going to give it a little bit of a scrape. This is great. It's nice and soft, and the beater is making short work out of this for me. I'm going to add my granulated sugar back to creaming. Now this is where the butter and the sugar is going to come together. The coarse little sugar grains, as the mixture is being creamed, what happens is the coarse little sugar grains create little air pockets in the butter, and this is what's going to help give the cake this great texture. While that's creaming, because that does take a minute or two, this cake uses whole milk and egg whites. We don't need the egg yolks. I already have several egg whites already in this container. I'm just going to show you how to separate the eggs. So I've got 2 more eggs here to separate. Just a sharp wrap on the side of your bowl so that you have roughly 2 even halves. And start letting the egg white go in. You can toss that egg yolk back and forth a little bit. We'll do it one more time. There we go. Now a lot of white cake recipes call for whipping the egg whites separately and then folding them in. And I realized years ago through trial and error that mixing our whole milk and our egg whites and our vanilla is going to give us just as good of a result, and it's going to be even easier. So we're going to have basically a wet mix and a dry mix coming together. So I'm just going to mix this together a little bit. This is the egg whites and the milk. The recipe does call for whole milk. I know a lot of you have skim or 1% or 2%. in your refrigerator. But if the recipe calls for whole milk, you should go out and buy some for the recipe. All right, let's see. This is looking good. So at this point, we're going to add the wet and the dry alternately to the bowl. So remember, we have our low protein King Arthur unbleached cake flour mixed with a little bit of salt, a little bit of baking powder. And I'm going to put, the flour is going to go in about 3 batches. A little bit of the wet. Having pouring spouts is always so helpful. A little more. Always turn off your mixer when you're adding ingredients to the bowl for safety. We're about halfway through, so I'm tilting the head back, which allows easy access into the bowl. There we go. Just until blended. Now I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and now we have to prepare our pans, which is very, very easy. I have 8-inch pans. These are made by Wilton. They're very sturdy. They conduct heat evenly. They're going to help our cakes bake as well as they can. I have nonstick spray, and I'm just going to spray the bottom and the sides. I have 8-inch rounds of parchment paper cut to fit. All I did was take my parchment paper, put it on the counter, put one of the pans on top, traced the edge with a pen, and cut them out. Those go down on the bottom, and then I'm just going to spritz the paper, and that's it. Now we're ready to pour our batter into the bowl, and we'll get them in the oven. So as I said, this white cake, now look at this batter. It is so silky, it is so beautiful, and because it doesn't have egg yolks would make a yellow cake. This is a white cake, so it's gonna really have this beautiful tender white color and its tender white texture from our unbleached flour. And here we go. Looks great. Pouring spout helps. We're just going to go by eye. We want to get these even. If you really, really, really want to make sure that they're even, you could use your scale and you could scale out the batter. Make sure the same weight was in both bowls, but I'm just doing it here by eye. These are going to go in the oven, 350 degrees, just until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out with a few moist crumbs. They'll be lightly golden brown on top. The edges will be just coming away from the sides of the pan, but we don't want to overbake. Our white cakes have baked. I tested them with a wooden skewer. Few moist crumbs clinging, so they're not overbaked, and they have cooled on a rack. And here they are, and you can see because we used a really good quality pan, they're even across the top, they're not peaked, there's no cracks, and so now we need to unmold them. First thing is I'm going to go around the side of the cake to help unmold it. Now when you do that, you could use a butter knife, but I'm going to use the icing spatula. You want to press towards the outside of the pan, because if you're pressing in towards the cake, you might shave off pieces of the cake sides, and you don't want to do that. So like that. Now our cardboard round goes on top, and then the cake is going to unmold. Look at that. Perfect. And because we lined the bottom of the cake pan with parchment paper, it's exactly the way we want it.